Hello, what's up guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. My name is Rob, and as you can see, I probably look quite a bit nicer. I've actually just picked up a brand new camera. I've upgraded my video recording equipment just a little bit. I didn't spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a really fancy camera, but I definitely upgraded what I was using previously, because previously I was just using my iPhone, so the quality really wasn't all that great for doing all the video that I was using for Rule of Two Review. But with a little bit of help and advice from my main man, Mizza T, I was able to upgrade and get a much nicer camera than I'd been using. So hopefully things are going to look a little bit better going forward whenever I'm doing vlog-related stuff. I'll be starting the Star Wars channel pretty soon, so I wanted to make sure I had a nicer camera for that as well. But really, I just wanted to make sure Rule of Two Review and my sexy face looked as good as possible. So hopefully, while not probably a gigantic improvement, I think it's going to be a pretty decent improvement. And of course, what better way to celebrate this brand new equipment that I have, a nicer camera, a nicer look for the channel, than to finally deliver on the Q&A Part 3 that I asked everyone to participate in quite a few months ago. Now, this goes back to right before I was moving from my previous home in Denver to my new home here in Portland, Oregon. And, all of these questions were asked at that time, probably a month or so before I left. And I've just been so busy with the move and with, I stayed with the same company I worked for, but I had a transfer, and just life has just been so crazy, and I still have my girlfriend back in Denver. We're working on finding a way to get her out here pretty soon, so I just haven't had time to get back to the Q&A portion and do some of the fun things I used to do. But today I have the time. I've got this new camera, so I wanted to get to this stuff with you guys. So I had quite a few great questions on that Q&A response video way back when. I don't have them in any particular order, so I'm just going to kind of go down the list, which is really exciting because the first question comes from one of my favorite peeps, Terminator Juice, one of my favorite friends and fellow YouTubers on YouTube. I've been a part of his Juices Loose podcast many times, and he asks some great non-gaming related questions. So we'll get to that first, and we'll get to everything else. There's movie-related stuff, gaming stuff, and here is a music question from Terminator Juice. Again, he knows that I play music professionally. I've been a live performing drummer for many years, about 15 years or so. So he asks, he has a couple questions. Who are my favorite hard rock bands? So I'm going to lump that into... By the way, thanks, TJ, for asking a music-related question. Really cool, man. That is such a hard question to answer. There's many. My favorite band of all time is Metallica. They are my boys. They and Lars are who inspired me to start playing the drums, which again is my main instrument, and just playing music and getting into hard rock and heavy metal. They're probably the most influential band of the last 3 decades, and I think that they are the last true larger-than-life rock stars the world might ever see. And they're even still relevant. They're in the studio right now getting ready to release, I think, their 9th or 10th studio album, which is pretty amazing. So those guys are in their early 50s, and it's amazing what they're still able to do. So they're my favorite band. I like a lot of really progressive, off-time signature kind of bands. That's really my thing right now. So I encourage everyone who likes hard rock and heavy metal, look up Between the Buried and Me, look up the band Periphery, look up the band Protest the Hero, look up the band Animals as Leaders. Those are some amazing bands, some of my favorites. I like a lot of other kind of heavier stuff like As I Lay Dying, Lamb of God. I like stuff that isn't hard rock and heavy metal too. 311, Dave Matthews Band. I should probably be able to think of quite a few more, but I just simply can't. There's a lot of different stuff, but when it comes to hard rock and heavy metal, Metallica is my favorite, and I also recommend you check out those other bands as well. He asks what instruments I play. Drums and percussion is my main thing. I play guitar and bass guitar a little bit. My very first instrument ever was actually the violin. So I did that for, I don't know, about a year or so when I was in 5th or 6th grade. So I have no idea if those skills still apply. And I can dabble on the piano, but I would love to learn more piano. Who do I feel is the best live rock band of the last 10 years? So that is going to be a band that I just mentioned. It is the band Between the Buried and Me. And they're probably just the best damn musicians out there doing what they do. They are so phenomenal, these guys in this group. They do so many different styles of music. They go from like really heavy music to groovy to like blast beat death metal, to jazz, to lots of piano and orchestrated instruments, and it's seamlessly integrated. You get a lot of the hard rock screaming and yelling vocals. You get some really nice, pretty clean vocals. That's what Tommy Giles, the vocalist, is able to do. Phenomenal musicians, and all of their albums are put together as a concept, so they tell a story from beginning to end, and the music seamlessly works itself, you know, from one track into another. It is meant to be listened to nonstop. There is no break in their music for an hour and a half. It's just amazing, and they will perform their albums live that way, and it is overpowering and overwhelming how amazing it is. So I encourage everyone, again, who maybe doesn't hate really loud heavy metal, to check out what these guys do, both live or in the studio. They are just phenomenal. So that's that. Terminator Juice, you're the man. Thanks for asking me some music-related questions. I love being able to talk about that stuff. I have a couple of questions from YouTube user the Magnum924. I think I've actually answered some of your questions before. Thanks again for asking. He asks, what is my favorite and or least favorite movie of all time? So good question. I do love talking about movies. And I'm hopefully, okay, we're going to get into some gaming questions here in a minute. So my favorite and least favorite movie of all time. I have an answer for both of those. I'm going to go to my favorite movie of all time. There's an obvious answer, which is Star Wars. And for me, when I say Star Wars is my favorite movie, I mean the entire saga, which means all 6 films. I believe in all 6 films and both trilogies, which makes me massively excited for the new trilogy that's starting very soon. So that's the easy answer. The Star Wars saga is my favorite film of all time. However, I like to give a non-Star Wars answer because it's also a really unique and quirky film. There is a film by Cameron Crowe that is called Vanilla Sky. I think it was 2000, starring Tom Cruise and Penelope Cruz and Cameron Diaz. It's actually a remake of a Spanish film called Abre los Ojos, which stands for Open Your Eyes, and that's a running theme in the film Vanilla Sky. Vanilla Sky by Cameron Crowe is my favorite non-Star Wars movie ever. It's a weird movie. It's like a romantic drama that turns into this weird sci-fi thing at the end. It's just an amazing story, and I think it encapsulates human memory and the things that we as people attach to in our lives and translate them to acts that we portray with other people and how we relate in relationships. And it's just so real while still being set with this sci-fi romantic backdrop. It's a strange film, but it is brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. I implore you to check out Vanilla Sky if you've not seen it. My least favorite film of all time is another weird one. It's a movie called The 10. And it was meant to be 10 short stories about the 10 Commandments. And they used a bunch of modern real-life settings with an amazing cast of a lot of really famous people. Liev Schreiber is in it, Famke Janssen, I almost said Paul Reiser, Paul Rudd, Adrian Brody, I think. A lot of different people in this film. And it seems great because there's a different story that's acting out one of the 10 Commandments in a modern setting. Jessica Alba's in it. This movie is trash. It is shit on a stick. It is a horrible film. It's like more vulgar than it needs to be and not in a way that's funny. And I just thought that it was a really great, clever idea that went nowhere. It's an abomination. The only reason I'd want you to see it is if you feel like you want to jump off of a cliff after watching it. It is so unbelievably bad. Myself and an ex-girlfriend went to see it in like an indie theater in a town that we used to live in, Colorado, years ago. It's like, this is like a 2007 movie. Because the trailer is awesome. So we thought it was going to be amazing. And we sat there watching this movie, dead silent, and I was just hating everything about it. But I was worried that maybe she was enjoying it, so I didn't say anything. I wanted to leave, but I didn't want to ruin it in case she wanted to see it. And by the time we walked out of the movie, we ended up looking at each other. We both hated it, and we both wanted to leave, but both of us thought maybe the other person wanted to stay and finish it, so it turns out we both suffered through that abomination and a mess of a movie. Ugh, it's just so bad. So, The 10, look up the trailer, because the trailer is really entertaining, but just remember, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just also, honorable mention goes to Aragon, because I fucking hate Aragon. Anyway, the Magnum924 then asks 2 gaming-related questions. So, what do I think would force one of the big 3 to drop out of the console race? That is a big question. He also asks, what do I think / would want to replace one or all of the big 3 if they drop? Man, there's a lot going on there. Okay, what would make one of the big 3, Microsoft and Nintendo or Sony, drop out? I think that that's actually a different answer for each of the 3 console manufacturers. So if Nintendo was going to drop out, I think it would be because they find more revenue to be gained in another space. And I know that that's really nervous to think about right now because we know of their recent partnership with DNA and how they're moving to mobile. Also, my theory with their quality of life kind of makes me wonder if they find more monetary success in a business model with this quality of life health-related platform or in the mobile stuff, that maybe that would be what would have them leave the console race. Now, I don't ever think that would happen. So I know most people who follow Rule 2 Review are Nintendo fans like me. Personally, I do not see that being a reality. But I feel like if there was going to be a reason, I think that that would be it. I think that they could probably survive on their console-related, their gaming-related stuff for many, many years, for a couple more generations. That's what I've heard based on the money that they have. And they will no doubt find mammoth success in the gaming space again because they can afford to do so. But if they were going to drop out, I think it would be because they found better revenue somewhere else. With Sony, it would just be the simple fact that Sony as a larger company is just not doing well and not making a profit. The PlayStation division is doing great, but Sony is not. So I feel like Sony's financial troubles as a larger company would be what would cause them to drop out of the PlayStation and the video game race. With Microsoft, it would be similar but also opposite, where I think that they would just learn that the Xbox division and their gaming division isn't earning enough money compared to everything else they do. So honestly, I think that's what would cause any of those 3 companies to drop out of the console race. Who would I want to replace them? Nobody, honestly. Like, if one of them left, it would be horrible. But I feel like a 2-console race society could still probably work like it did back in the 16-bit days. I don't think it's ideal. I like the 3-console race, but if one of them left, I don't really want anyone to replace. But I feel like Amazon or Apple or Valve, you know, Valve figures out their Steam machine and decides to move to a console space. Those would be companies I could see, you know, taking the place of somebody who dropped out. It would be great if Sega could do it, but I just don't ever see that happening. I would love to have Sega back, man. Those were glorious days, but that'll never happen. So, let's see. So my man Andre, who is the GVGINU, great video game ideas not used. What's up, Andre? Thanks for writing me, man. Great channel. Definitely check him out. He asks me, what 3 First, he asks me, why do I look so sexy? Very appropriate given my brand new camera setup, and also it's the beard, honestly. But he then says, but now for my real question. What 3 games would I like to see make a return from the days of the Dreamcast? The official ones, I mean. I know people are still making games for it. Well, Dreamcast, I would love to see. Great system, obviously. I think that the first Sonic Adventure was amazing. I'm a huge Sonic fan today. I did not like Sonic Adventure 2, but Sonic Adventure 1 was awesome for the time. But we know Sonic still exists and is in kind of a weird place right now, so we're going to let Sonic be. Power Stone, obviously. Those were great games. Capcom, weird 3D/2D fighting games with just a bunch of chaos happening. That would be fantastic. I was also, honestly, I'm a huge fan of the NFL 2K series that they started, which did start on the Sega Dreamcast. And I know that that would be really hard because EA has a lock on the NFL license and blah, blah, blah. And also, I don't even really love sports simulation games anymore today. I do love sports, but not gaming related. But I love the NFL 2K series. That made me realize, wow, we could actually do great things with the football game. And Madden isn't exciting to me anymore. But if NFL 2K came back, that would just be awesome. I'm trying to think of what else. I never played Shenmue. I know that there's something that I'm brain farting. I mean, Soul Calibur got started on the Dreamcast and the arcade, and that would be great for Soul Calibur to make another triumphant return. I know they made Soul Calibur 5, but something that comes back bigger like Soul Calibur 1 and Soul Calibur 2, so that would be really cool. But honestly, man, Power Stone, that's the easiest answer because they were great games. So, awesome. Good question, man. I missed the Dreamcast, so thanks, Andre. Good call. So, this one hurts me to talk about. Lars1998 asks me, is there any new information on Beyond Good and Evil 2? And he probably asks because I made a video about Beyond Good and Evil 2 about 8 or 9 months ago, and it's like my second most popular video I ever made, which is fantastic. Thank you guys for liking it. Beyond Good and Evil is one of my favorite games ever. I talked about it recently on my anticipation for E3 this year. And that video about Beyond Good and Evil 2 was because a little bit of information came out where Michel Ancel was actually talking about Beyond Good and Evil 2. And how in the last year or two, they were still trying to work on Beyond Good and Evil 2, But sorry, my nose itches. I don't know why. But they were like trying to wait for the new generation of consoles to come out and actually, you know, find a way to make a good version of this game, make it live up to its legacy. And by the way, anyone who might not know this, there was leaked footage of an early prototype of Beyond Good and Evil 2. I'm going to try to find it and link it below. It was never confirmed to be Beyond Good and Evil 2, but trust me, that shit is Beyond Good and Evil 2. So you should definitely check that out, Lars, if you are curious and if you've never seen it. It'll just get you really excited to watch it. It's very different than the first game. So, you know, to answer your actual question, no, man, there isn't. I'm always on the lookout, trust me. I promise you, and anyone else who got really excited and subscribed to the channel wanting to hear more about Beyond Good and Evil 2, which there was many people, and Lars, I know you're one of them. I'm looking for more information, but the simple fact is I can't create information on the game that doesn't exist. So once it exists, believe me, I will be the first one talking about it on YouTube, man, so please keep an eye out for that. Right now, we're just going to have to, you know, admit the sad fact that there just is no new information on Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's a tragedy in the gaming industry. Melonhead, YouTube user Melonhead with a fantastic avatar asks me, what is the one thing that I want to do most in life? I have two answers to that. One is travel to Japan, because Japan is just my #1 most dreamed about destination. It's like both the technology hub and like this nerd central location for all these things that we all like. And it's also got a lot of rich history and culture. And it's got these, you know, these temples and this Buddhist way of life and this beautiful countryside and so much history that in the States we don't really have. And I think it's all fascinating. So I'd love to go and you know, check out the Akihabara Strip where all the cool nerdy shit is, and stay in like a place like Tokyo and see like all the cool things there, and then travel to the countryside and check out the temples and get an idea of their history. And I think that would be so fantastic. The other thing that I would want to do most in life would be, as a professional musician, I would love to have a band that could open for Metallica. Because, as I said, Metallica is my favorite band and they're so legendary. If I could share the stage with those icons, with the guys who got me so interested in music and wanting to learn it, and I've, you know, achieved my musical dream in the live performances that I've done in the past, but my next step would be to do something like that. So that would be what I'd like to do most in life. Japan is achievable. Opening for Metallica, not achievable, but it's a nice dream. So thanks for the question, man. That's really cool. Hamilton C. Sandwich asks me, how am I enjoying Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate? I'm enjoying it quite well, thank you. It's the best Monster Hunter yet. It's beautiful. It's so rich. The agility that your character has in this new entry is so great. I think that the loot system is just handled better. The maps, the diverse locations, all the new weapons. It's just an amazing game. This game is almost perfect. And it's so great with the new 3DS because I use the hell out of the camera nub, the right camera nub. It works fantastically. So I just think it's a fantastic game. My girlfriend bought it when she came out to visit me here in Portland like a month ago, and we've played online a couple times, and I love playing with my other buddies online. It's just great, man. I really think that they need to bring Monster Hunter to the Wii U. Like, seriously, Capcom, what the hell are you doing? Or Nintendo, whoever's not making that happen, get off your ass and make that happen. But as far as it stands, the 3DS version of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, it's amazing. Definitely play it and check it out if you haven't already. It's fantastic. Let's see here. Well, okay, so Joey4245 asks me, what are some of my favorite movies of all time? So I already touched on my favorite movies, which is Star Wars and Vanilla Sky. But if I was going to go a little bit broader, there are a lot that jump to mind. Obviously, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is right up there. The Matrix trilogy. Yes, I said the trilogy. I love even Reloaded and Revolutions. They're amazing. The Matrix trilogy, the Hobbit trilogy, you know, those are right up there as my favorite movies of all time. Also, some unique ones. Braveheart is perfect. Titanic is amazing. I don't care what anyone says. I still love Titanic. I think it's a perfect film. Here's a unique one. Boogie Nights by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Mark Wahlberg. God, that movie introduced me to what quality, real, artistic filmmaking was about. And it's beautifully shot. The performances are great. The script is amazing. And it's a directing showcase, man. I just think that Boogie Nights is just wonderful. Also, a film called Sunshine by director Danny Boyle. Also a 2007 film. It actually stars Chris Evans before he was a big star, by the way. Also, Cillian Murphy is in it. Great sci-fi film set 50 years in the future where the sun is dying and they try to ignite it with a bomb. And it's just it's an amazing, intense film. Also, there is a piece of music in there that you'll recognize from many other films and trailers that's been released since. So, yeah, Sunshine's a great one. I love Speed Racer. The Wachowskis' film Speed Racer, I'm dead serious. I think that it is an amazingly realized vision, and it's also very emotional and well acted. It's a frickin' phenomenal film. So if you haven't seen it, you know, don't laugh. I'm telling you, Speed Racer is a serious movie. There was one other that just went in and out of my head. Damn it, what the hell was it? There's a movie called London, which also coincidentally also stars Chris Evans. That's one of my favorite films of all time. Watchmen is probably like top 3 or 4 favorite comic film of all time, you know, and it's just, if you take it out of the comic realm, it's just a goddamn great movie. So I think Watchmen is really fantastic. So 12 Angry Men, the original black and white 12 Angry Men is an absolute wonderful acting showcase. 12 guys in one room, that's the entire movie, man, and it's amazing. God, I kind of should have looked at my movie collection before I asked that, because I know I have others that are good ones. What else? There's another older one. John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a remake of the old, I think, 1940s or 1950s The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, which was made in, I think, 82. Holy shit! That's an amazing movie. God damn. You gotta see it. It's horrifying. It is so scary, but it is so good. It still works today. That's how good it is. So yeah, I don't know. Those are some of my favorite movies. You know, Vanilla Sky is a big one. Again, obviously Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Those are big ones. But pay attention to films like London and Sunshine and Boogie Nights. I really want you guys to check. Oh, also Lost in Translation with Bill Murray, a movie that not everyone gets because it's incredibly slow. Also, it was one of the first films that Scarlett Johansson was in before she was a really big actress. God, that's the movie that made me fall in love with Japan too. So if you haven't seen Lost in Translation, it's a pretty adult film because it's just a very small character piece. It's nothing like the big nerdy flicks that we all see today, but it's goddamn awesome, so check it out. So, yeah, great. Thanks for the movie question. And I think we're going to get to the last question here, and this was kind of a long one. I haven't even read this yet, so I'm going to read it to you guys. Okay. So, Dragon Swords 15, someone else who I've also answered his questions in the past. He asks me, do I think the supposed Nintendo Fusion handheld would come out in 2021, and then the console version come out a year after, because cross-gen has still yet to end, with Metal Gear Solid 5 coming out, or coming to all platforms except Wii U, and PS3 still having some games like Persona 5 coming out. Do I want another cross-gen to happen soon or happen 5 years after, as cross-gen is done by most likely 2016? Okay. There's a bunch of questions there. So I think the main question is, do I think that the supposed Nintendo Fusion handheld would come out in 2021, and then the console version later? And I think that what you're trying to get at is the whole idea of the current generation and last generation games coming out for the same systems, like Persona and Metal Gear Solid. The Nintendo Fusion thing kind of has a different context now compared to when you asked it 2 months ago, because now we know that the Nintendo NX is a thing. And there are a couple, you know, curious quotes by Satoru Iwata that make it sound like the Nintendo NX might be kind of the Fusion idea, basically something that's relating to both a home console and a handheld, because he's said that it's not meant to be a simple replacement for just the Wii U or the 3DS. And so I've been saying this from the get-go, why would he have mentioned both of those units in the same quote about the NX? So I feel like, you know, they say it's a brand new concept, just like the Wii was its own concept and the Wii U was its own concept with their controllers. And so I feel like we're going to get the next idea of that. He mentions the Wii U and the 3DS being replaced. I think that it's going to be whatever this Fusion idea is going to be. I think it's going to be some sort of cross-compatibility, home console, handheld unit device, ubiquitous sort of gaming experience. I think it's going to be that. Whatever this Fusion thing, I think it's going to be that. Now, you bring up the date 2021. Obviously, it's not going to be that long. We know that they're going to talk about the NX and probably reveal it next year. I and many other people think that it's going to actually release in 2017 or 18. So it's going to come out well before 2021, but I do think that the NX is what people had been rumoring the Fusion to be. So that's my theory. It's only that, but I feel pretty damn good about it. I mean, when you talk about the cross-gen thing of Metal Gear Solid 5 coming to all platforms, and Persona came out on PS3 and PS4, I think that this year, I think next year, 2016, will be the official last year that we see any support for the last generation consoles. The Wii hasn't been supported for a while, but the PS3 and 360 are still being supported, we know, with like games like Mortal Kombat, Metal Gear Solid 5, like you bring out, Call of Duty, stuff like that. I think that next year might be the last year we see something like Call of Duty coming out for both the current gen and the 7th gen machines. And I feel like once Call of Duty stops doing it and Madden, then it's done, man. I think it's finally going to be time to stick a fork in them. And they will have done fantastically. That means that the 360 will have had an 11-year life cycle if next year is the last year it gets any games released for it. So that is super impressive, which also makes 10 years for the PS3. I feel like it's time for that to stop. With the recent reveal by Ubisoft that they're no longer supporting the 7th gen, and they're one of the biggest, most prolific developers in the industry right now. With them no longer doing it, that's a huge sign of the end. And I loved those machines, all three of them, and they've had an amazing life, and I don't want to diss those systems or the people who still own them and refuse to buy a new generation console. But you know what? That's just the way it goes, man. That's the way the beast operates, is a generation exists for a time, and then it goes away to make room for a new generation, and then that old generation is gone. It's there still for collectability's sake, and you can still keep it to play the games that existed in that generation, but you're not going to get new software made forever, man. That's what happens. I mean, the developers have to dive into what the current systems and the current PCs are capable of doing, and a previous generation just can't keep up, and so that stuff has to go away. So that's kind of my theory. I think that that's... We obviously have a couple this year, like I said, with Madden, Call of Duty, and Mortal Kombat, and Metal Gear. But next year, I think we'll get maybe Madden and Call of Duty, and I think it'll be the last year that we ever see the last, generation systems getting supported. And as much as I love them, honestly, I think it's a good thing. So that's just the way the generations have to move forward, man. We have to let the 8th generation be its own thing. So that's it, I talked a lot about non-gaming related stuff, so hopefully this was still entertaining, but I wanted a reason to use my brand new camera that I'm really stoked to have. I hope that this looks pretty great, much better than it had been previously, and I still have to play with the video settings and the lighting and all that stuff, so that may change as I use this more and more going forward and when I start the Star Wars channel, but, I'm really stoked to have this. I appreciate the questions you guys asked 2 months ago. Thanks for waiting so long. There were a couple other questions, but it's just going to take too long to get to them, and this video is pretty long as is. So, again, shout out to my man Mizati for helping me shop for and know which brand new camera to get within the budget that I wanted to spend. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you guys so much for being a fan of me and being a fan of Rule of Two Review and supporting the channel. The channel is just doing better and better all the time, and it means so much. I love doing this. It means a lot that you guys seem to care and that you're interested enough to ask me some questions. I love that there were so many non-gaming related questions. I'm going to start doing the users question corner pretty soon so I can stick just to games and answering your guys' gaming related questions, because that is the purpose of Rule of Two Review. But again, I appreciate talking about non-gaming stuff. So that's going to be it for this Q&A part 3. It's very ill-timed. It's 2 months late. But I was so busy. So thanks to you guys for your patience. And thanks, as always, like I said, for being a fan of Rule of Two Review. It means the world to me. You guys are awesome. And I will catch you guys next time on a regular video for Rule of Two Review.